Welcome to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko, the show that brings you man-on-the-street interviews, celebrity guests, groundbreaking research, and heartwarming stories about the reasons we smile. Our show is also known as everything you've always wanted to know about dentistry, but were too numb to ask. Hello, I'm General Dentist Dr. Kvitko, and thank you for joining me today.
The following views and opinions do not necessarily reflect those of this station, its staff, management, or parent company. To hear a replay of this show or one of the great shows that previously aired, log on to thereasonswesmile.com or iTunes, keyword Dr. Kvitko or The Reasons We Smile. Listeners should not use Dr. Kvitko's comments and advice in place of an actual dental exam.
Brighten your life with a smile that shows the professional touch of Dr. Kvitko.
Time now for The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. Call 459-9769 to discuss your dental issues. Now, here's your host, Dr. Kvitko.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Reasons We Smile. I'm Dr. Kvitko. This is episode number 594. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today the Memorial Tournament is going on, and I'm going to be there later on this morning. I always enjoy when the world's golfers come to Columbus, actually Dublin, and so I look forward to that every year. Before we get started with the show, let me remind you, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Dr. Kvitko. And if you'd please go to my office Facebook page and like us, that would be awesome. It's Dr. Kvitko and Associates. Also, all past episodes, complete with video, are available at thereasonswesmile.com, and I don't think we can stream live on Facebook today because I couldn't figure it out. Sometimes when you go to your Facebook page, you know how it doesn't say post. Well, I tried a bunch of times, and I couldn't get that word post to come up. It has to be on post before you can choose go live. So anyway, maybe next week. Like I said, today is episode 594. And let me remind you, we're going to give away free flowers from DeSantis Florist in about 10 minutes. There'll be a Dr. Kvitko's question of the day, and it has to do with what we talk about today, so if you just listen a little bit, you'll be able to figure it out. I try to make it easy. If you'd like to pre-program the phone number into your cell phone now, it's 614-459-9769, 614-459-9769. So just pre-program that. Don't call yet, but we will let you know. It's going to be in about 10 minutes. Okay, so today's show was going to be some of the interviews I did when I was in Hawaii, but I didn't have time to get those files edited, and so I decided that we're going to do one of the shows that tells you what I did last week, okay, the patients that I saw, the kinds of interesting things that came up at the office. It's kind of poignant in a way because the very first patient I saw on Monday of last week was a gentleman who'd stayed away for a long time, and you might remember that last week's show we had Bob Perry on, who was a relatively new patient who'd stayed away from the dentist forever since he was 8 or 10, and I think he's in his early to mid-50s. And so, as it turns out, the gentleman on Monday was also one of those folks that had stayed away. And this gentleman, he came in and he worried me a little bit because he was so terrified and yet didn't want to be sedated that first day, and we were doing a procedure where we had to numb every part of his mouth. And I kept saying, "Are you sure you're okay?" Because he just looked tense. He looked like maybe he was feeling something. But I kept asking him, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine. This is nothing like what I remember." Of course, I would prefer it that if people just don't feel anything, you know? But anyway, when he came back on Monday for his next phase of treatment, he did agree to be sedated because we told him what we were going to do is 2 root canals and 3 crowns, 3 crown buildups. And I think maybe the word root canal scared him a little bit. And so he said, yeah, we'll go ahead and do the sedation. And I'll tell you what, it went awesome. It went awesome. He was, smiling. He was calm. He didn't have any anxiety whatsoever. He didn't even remember or know that we had done root canals. We told him, but it didn't feel like a root canal to him. Didn't feel like anything, to be honest. And I want to tell you that we worked on this gentleman from 7:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock. And he was fine. He just said it was the best dental appointment he'd ever had. And that's a lot of work, isn't it? 2 root canals, 3 crown buildup fillings, and 3 crowns that, as you may know, at my office, we make them right there. So it's not like we took an impression and he'll come back in 2.5 to 3 weeks to get those 3 crowns. We actually finished them right there, and he walked out with the finished result. So anyway, that was a long appointment on Monday, but very rewarding for me and my staff. Because look, we took this guy who had avoided the dentist for, I forget if it was 17 years, 20 years, 27 years. It almost doesn't matter. because once you stay away for a certain period of time, you're just going to need a lot of stuff. You just do. Now, at the beginning of the day, the same time that gentleman was in, we had a guy come in 1 week prior, last week. He had this infection around his gum and bone on his lower last tooth, and he couldn't really pinpoint it at first. He pointed to a tooth two in front of it. Eventually, he figured it out. We took an x-ray, and we saw, oh my goodness, there was this huge periodontal abscess. No bone. The bone had all been eaten away around the back and the outside of that tooth, the last one in the arch. And so we'd made an incision. We pulled the tissue back. We got rid of all of the irregular tissue called granulation tissue. And then we sterilized it, if you will. It's not really sterile, but it's close, with our laser. And then we packed it with bone, donor bone. And then we put collagen, and we stitched it up real nice. So we're growing new bone. He was in, it was a 1 week post-op just to have us check. It's something that we want to do. We schedule people for this. And everything looked good. His gums were a little bit tender, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing unusual. And so, I told him everything's looking good. We're going to see him again in maybe 2 or 3 weeks just to make sure. So that was also first thing in the morning while we were getting that other gentleman comfortable, Okay. So in the meantime, same time, actually 7:30 a.m., my hygienist saw one of our longtime patients, a gentleman who is an absolute OSU nut. He just loves OSU. We have one room that is decorated with OSU garb, and he will not let us see him in any room but that one. And he's just a hoot. He's funny. He's very dedicated to Ohio State, knows a lot of the backstory, and I always enjoy when he comes in. And he actually told us that he enjoyed his visit and did one of those reviews after leaving, telling us how happy he was, and he loves Christine, our hygienist. He wrote that he enjoyed having me as his dentist. That's very rewarding. It's also the reason I decided to do this topic, because we had a good bit of that happen this past week, folks. It's pretty cool. Okay, now while the first gentleman was in the chair, hour and a half later after his appointment had started, we had one of our 6-month Smiles patients come in. That was at 9 o'clock, so we were at a stopping point with the root canals and the crowns. Sometimes we have to wait for the cord we pack around the gum line. Sometimes we're waiting for sealer to set, and so I can step away. And me and my dental assistant, who works with me on the ortho, we looked at this patient, and we've worked with her for a few months now, maybe 4 or 5, and it looks like we're done, except for she was born with what are called PEG lateral incisors. PEG laterals, PEG, P-E-G, not P-I-G, but P-E-G, PEG. They're just undersized teeth. They look almost like baby cuspids, but they're lateral incisors. And so one of them had been built up by a previous dentist to look a little bit like it should. The other one had not. Everything looked good, but there's still space around these teeth, and that's when I remembered or realized that they're PEG laterals, so we can't move the teeth to close that gap. And even if we did, it would look funny because these are undersized. So basically where we were is to a point where we could now do veneers on those 2 teeth. We aligned everything else. The upper and the lower teeth are all lined up and ready to go, and I made my measurements, and we're good. So now we're just waiting to hear from her whether she wants resin veneers or if she wants porcelain veneers. Okay? And by the way, the difference is porcelain obviously is made out of porcelain, but porcelain usually involves something a little more precise. Usually involves the lab where we take an impression and send them off, but I can make them with my CEREC machine, the same-day crown machine, where we mill them right there. And I've done that on several occasions, but more often than not, they're sent to a lab. And then resin veneers is basically, think of those as homemade. We make them as we go. We place them on your teeth a little bit at a time, and we shape them, and we get them to look nice based on our knowledge of what a nice smile should be. So, and that reminds me, there was this other woman who came in, and she'd come in the previous Friday. Yeah, so I'm going to go back one day. I said it was going to be this past week. But you know what? Since we had the holiday, there were only 4 days anyway, so I'll go ahead and bring one in from the previous Friday, because this woman, she had spaces. She had spaces between all of her upper front 6 teeth. Her teeth were kind of squared off. They were undersized. They looked more like a man's teeth. Like men have more square teeth. Women have curves, and their teeth happen to have curves. And her son is getting married in 2 weeks. And I don't know where she was for the last 6 months or so. She's a new patient to us. But the point is she came in about 2.5 weeks before the wedding. And she wanted to have a beautiful smile for the wedding. So she chose to have resin veneers. Now, we did veneers because of spacing. Now, somebody previous to me had put a little bit of composite on a couple of the teeth to try and close those gaps. But in her words, it made it look like the tooth was growing over to the other one. It didn't look natural. And she wanted this gorgeous smile. So she came in, and we spent an entire morning doing these resin veneers, and they came out gorgeous. They really did. We worked really hard. Don't get me wrong. We worked really hard, but they came out great. And I always have people come back in about a week so I can actually check. Because on day one, the gums were still bleeding, because we had to work below the gum line, get a nice smooth margin, we call it. And then we also look for like sharp edges or any place that's not smooth, anything we didn't polish, or maybe there's something that needs to be rounded a little bit, or maybe made to be more sharp to look nice, So she came in, and she was just so happy. The day we did it, she started to cry happy tears and was wiping her eyes. And even her son, when he came in to pick her up, he took one look at her and go, whoa, that looks great. And so it's just very rewarding, I talk a lot about how we change lives, how we have the capacity to change lives, and more often than not, we do change lives. And so in both of these cases, well, all three, the gentleman that was nervous and now he's not, we did the sedation and we got 2 root canals and all that done. The woman who we're doing her orthodontics, her 6-month smiles, and now we're almost done because now we have to do is put the veneers on the 2 peg laterals. And this woman who, with just 2 weeks notice, maybe 2 weeks and a couple days, we were able to give her the smile of her dreams and a chance to go off to her son's wedding, which I think it's in Bermuda. This is a destination wedding. And pose for pictures and be proud of those and know that these are pictures that her son and his new wife are going to look at for years and years. And not only now, but they're going to remember her. That's how they're going to remember her when she's gone, right? At some point. So anyway, very, very cool, and so happy to be able to do that for her. Okay, so I think it is time for us to do Dr. Kvitko's question of the day. As you're preparing to maybe consider calling in to win, you may want to remember that one of my patients came in, gave me 2 weeks notice to get her smile gorgeous before her son's wedding. Okay, that's going to be part of the question of the day. Before we do the contest, though, we'd like you to listen to this.
This station will not be held liable for any contesting during The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. Participation in the contest allows Dr. Kvitko to record and broadcast your name and call. 1 winner per household. Prizes are non-transferable, cannot be substituted, and are subject to taxes and fees. This station cannot be responsible for the inability to enter the contest, whether due to equipment malfunction or telephone difficulties. All decisions of Dr. Kvitko concerning this contest or eligibility are final.
And now it's time for Dr. Kvitko's question of the day.
Okay, and the winner of today's question of the day is going to win free flowers from DeSantis Florist. They'll be delivered to your place of business this Tuesday afternoon. The question is, recently one of my female patients came into the office and gave me how many weeks to get her smile gorgeous before her son's wedding? Was it A, 1 week, B, 2 weeks, C, 3 weeks, or D, 4 weeks? All right? The number to call, 614-459-9769. That's 614-459-9769. So go ahead and call now.
You won't believe it though. I wanna hear your mind, and there's nothing else in the world tonight. She said people don't take the time. Hey, people don't take the time.
Hi, I'm Keith Carlos, winner of America's Next Top Model and star of Chocolate City 2. Look for my smile on the big screen this summer, courtesy of Dr. Kvitko. Stay tuned to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko, the world's most interesting dentist.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kvitko, general dentist and host of the Reasons We Smile radio and roadshow. Did you know that you no longer need to visit several different dental professionals to get more complete dental care? We handle everything from cleanings and orthodontics to restoration, implants, and smile makeovers, all in my office. Get the most advanced technology and procedures available today. It's more complete dentistry.
Visit worldsmostinterestingdentist.com for more info about Dr. Kvitko.
Dr. Kvitko! Let's go!
Hi, I'm Joanne. Johanna, and I've been a dental patient at Dr. Kvitko and Associates for over 10 years. I would really recommend Dr. Kvitko for your family's dental care. They're friendly. They're always there to help me. I feel like family when I walk in the door. It's clean, it's comfortable. Even if I have to bring my kids, they have a great playroom for them. I know when I'm with Dr. Kvitko, they are taking that extra time to make sure that I'm going to be the healthiest I can be. They've been great. I love them.
Call Dr. Kvitko and Associates today, 614-262-9588.
Hi, this is Richard Simmons. Dr. Kvitko's here, and he's going to help you with all of your problems. Are your teeth yellow? He can fix that. Are you missing a tooth? He can put a new one in. How is that?
That's very good. Thank you, Richard.
All right, we're back. We're doing Dr. Kvitko's question of the day. During the break, my producer took the phone calls. Tell me who is the winner of Dr. Kvitko's question of the day, who had the correct answer, which is B, 2 weeks.
Dr. Kvitko, the winner of the free flowers this morning is DJ, and he's in Dublin.
Congratulations to our winner. Okay, if you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Kvitko. This is The Reasons We Smile. It's episode number 594. We're talking about some interesting things that I saw with patients in the previous week. Okay, so on Monday, we saw this woman. It was a week prior, so she was coming back for her post-operative check. And what we had done, we saw her on an emergency basis. We actually went in on a Sunday, and we took care of her. And she needed what's called an apicoectomy. She'd had a previous root canal, but it was failing. Didn't look like the access got all the way to the end of the tooth, and I couldn't get past the spot that they got caught at, kind of a ledge. I got past it a little bit. I just couldn't get all the way to the end of the tooth because of the obstruction. And to be considered a good root canal, we need to get all the way to the end of the tip of the root so that we can seal it so bacteria can't hide inside that tooth anymore. So I went ahead and did what's called an apicoectomy. It's surgery, where we take off the bad part of the root, pack bone, put collagen, stitch it up nice. So when she came back for us to take a look, it was a little tender for her. To be honest, the worst part was where we made the incision, not where we did the surgery, because where the tissue comes together there, sometimes that just bothers people. The next patient that day was a gentleman who had come in. He had a couple cavities. His lower right was a first molar, his lower left was a second molar, and all he had was decay. But for some reason, he had decided he wanted his teeth extracted, and we just couldn't talk him out of it. So I did talk to him about replacing the missing teeth with bridges or partials or implants and crowns, but in the meantime we had to take out his teeth, and he has very good bone and the roots were kind of curved, and so they didn't just come out routinely, they had to come out as though they were surgically impacted. They had to come out in pieces. Well, anyway, when he came back in, he was having some pain on his lower right, not the left but the lower right, and when I looked I discovered that he had food down in the hole. He'd apparently gotten some food down in the hole that was causing the pain. It was keeping the tooth from healing. He was actually developing a dry socket, which means there's no longer a blood clot and you actually can have bare dry bone exposed to the outside world, and that can be pretty painful. So what I do, I go ahead and numb the person. So I numbed him up and I took a curette and I cleaned out the food that I found. I cleaned out all of the irregular tissue, the stuff that was trying to heal but wasn't able to because there was food in the way, and basically created a new bleeding wound site and stitched it up real nice so that this time I warned him again not to have foods that have little particles in them like chicken noodle soup, that he should rather have had just broth or tomato soup or something like that, because there's nothing that can fall down in the hole if you do that, and basically just gave him a new chance for that side to heal up normally. Okay, the very last thing of the day was this gentleman came in to get his bruxism appliance. So what do we do? Why do we do bruxism appliances? Bruxism is when you grind your teeth. You don't even know you're doing it most of the time because you do it in your sleep. But what we see is the results of a person bruxing, and we see wear spots on their enamel, some pretty flattened areas where a good bit of the enamel is gone, sometimes 3 millimeters or so. And so this gentleman had that. We'd mentioned it to him at his previous 6-month periodic exam and cleaning appointment. He didn't do anything. They're not terribly expensive, but they are $400 or $500 or something like that. So he waited, but he was having discomfort with his teeth. And by the way, if you grind rocks with your teeth, it's going to hurt. Well, teeth are pretty hard. They're like rocks, and if you grind one tooth against the next and you do it a lot, it can make your teeth hurt. So we finally decided that it was time for us to make him a bruxism appliance. We had done the impression the previous Friday, and he came in, and when we put these in, we don't just say, here you go. We have to grind in the bite so that it's perfect, so that when a person closes, all of the teeth touch at the same time. If they don't, well, we can make the person clench more or grind more. Granted, they'll be grinding on rubber now because it's made out of rubber, but if you don't have it right, it could actually actually cause more pain in the TM joints. And so we make sure that it's adjusted so that when the person closes, everything touches at once. There's no interference. And it basically does something called deprogramming the muscles. Okay? And it makes them relax. And more often than not, the person actually stops clenching. Certainly, they diminish the amount of clenching they do. But even if they don't wear away any more enamel because they have this rubber thing in there. And it's okay to wear away the rubber. You can get a new rubber appliance, but you can't get new enamel. Okay. All right. So that was Monday. On Tuesday morning, we had this gentleman come in. His appointment was at 8 o'clock. And he had previously been in for filling. So when we did his periodic exam and cleaning, and we told him, you have several teeth that need attention. Several of them needed crowns. I think at least one needed a root canal. But instead of having those done, he had us do a few of the smaller fillings. Why? Because they were less expensive. So he was putting off the more expensive work. But as it turns out, one of these teeth that we told him needed the root canal and a big filling and a crown actually started to hurt. It actually broke more. And so he came in, and now his root canal is an emergency basis. We don't like when people wait like that, but they do sometimes, and we just, we'll deal with it. But anyway, so we had to do his root canal. We had to do a big filling, the crown. We made the crown right there. His root canal was a little interesting because lower bicuspids, especially lower first bicuspids, and more often than not second bicuspids, only have one root. But in this case, his lower second bicuspid had two distinct roots, and so I had to work a little harder, first to recognize that there were two, and secondly to get them both filled. After him was a gentleman that came in to get his two crowns. We had done two front teeth, prepared his teeth for crowns. Now, I talk a lot about how I make the crowns while you wait. Well, I do, but in his case, he's got some health issues. He can't sit in the chair very long, and we just made a decision that it's best to send these off to the lab and have them made. And so we did. And when he came in, we didn't even have to numb him. We just had to dry the teeth off, make sure the bite was good, and we cemented his crowns. And so, that all went really well. So, okay, let me look at the time. It might be time for us to go to a break. Yeah, I think it is. All right, so you're listening to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. It's episode number 594, and we'll be right back.
You can't take me as I am, not just a little bit. I don't know who to be. I'm a paper cup, baby, on the sea. I know you see it too, 'cause you're too much for me.
This is Clark Kellogg. Stay tuned for more of Dr. Kvitko.
Estás escuchando con Dr. Kvitko aquí en su estación favorita.
Hi, I'm Dominique Reichert. Like what you hear? Why not use the show to promote your product or service by becoming a sponsor? Call 614-262-9588 to learn how. That's 614-262-9588. Call now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kvitko, general dentist and host of the Reasons We Smile radio and roadshow. I've been honored to help several famous people get a perfect smile, like Keith Carlos and Dominique Reigard from America's Next Top Model, and Ted the Golden Voice Williams from right here in Columbus. Isn't it time you had a celebrity smile? It costs less than you might think, and most of the time, it can be done in one visit. A new smile can make a world of difference.
Visit worldsmostinterestingdentist.com for more info about Dr. Kvitko.
I'm Grandpa, and I go to Dr. Kvitko, and I still have all my teeth. Real ones. Where's my glasses?
All right. If you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Kvitko. This is episode number 594 of The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. And what we're doing is we're kind of just taking a look back at the week before this last week to see kind of the interesting things that we did at the office and how we make a difference in people's lives. The next gentleman came in and he needed a big filling on his upper right cuspid up at the gum line, and he had a tooth that had a piece of filling breakout, pretty good sized piece of filling, usually because of the tooth breaking or decay. And so he came in and we did a crown, a large filling called a buildup, and a crown, and then we put that big filling up at the gum line. It was his upper right cuspid, so it's actually visible when he smiled. And then the next patient was a little girl. I think she might have been 13. Yeah, 13, because the adult bicuspids come in when you're 12 and hers weren't coming in, and we had to take out 2 baby teeth. Now, why do we take out baby teeth? Because the adult teeth you could see from the x-ray, were turned kind of sideways, so the cusps of the new tooth didn't line up with the roots of the old tooth, so therefore it wasn't dissolving away the old tooth or the baby tooth. So it wasn't going to come out on its own. So we got them out just fine, and she didn't feel a thing. We took our time, made sure that, I think we used laughing gas with Mom's permission, and we made sure she was good and numb, and everything went smooth. She was very, very surprised that we got the teeth out without her even knowing. Then we had a gentleman come in. It was 5 weeks after we did a gum graft on his upper left molar, first molar, and it looked really super. It really did. It looked like it never happened, like he never needed the graft to begin with. And then later in the day, I guess that would have been, what time would that have been? Oh, it looks like maybe 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Anyway, we had this woman come in for 2 extractions. She'd basically not been in for a long, long time, and she'd let a couple teeth go really bad. One was broken off at the gum line. Not much of it left, though, on the lower left. And then the lower right, it was a full-size molar that was so rotten I could barely, there was hardly anything for me to grab to. Every time I put my instrument on it, it would crumble because it was all mushy. But I got it out, and we got her stitched up so that she'll heal up really nice. And then we had another orthodontic check that came in that day. This gentleman is interesting because he had an impacted cuspid that was laying on the roof of his palate. You couldn't even see it. It was completely missing in his mouth. And if you looked at the x-ray, it was horizontal, laying up there, kind of like underneath his nose, kind of leaning over towards his eye, because they're called eye teeth, right? And so we were able to expose that surgically, and we've been bringing it down over the last several months, and it's almost done. It is looking so close. It's really, I'm actually getting excited that we're going to finally have him finished. Okay, and then the next day, we did a gentleman who came in for a crown. Another guy, he came in for a bunch of fillings that we found when he was in. He came in for an emergency appointment previous, and we just didn't have time to get to the cavities, but he came in to get those done. And another orthodontic check. This woman, she's in her 70s, and she has a high school reunion coming up, and we've been trying to get her teeth straight in time for the reunion. They're actually straighter. They're not done, but she only gave us about a month and a half or 2. And so I think she's going to have to go to her reunion with her braces on, but her teeth are coming around. They're not as crooked as they were, and I guess people will see that she's working on it, you know? And I applaud her for that. I wish she'd come in sooner, but they're much, much better than before. Okay, on that same day, we had another orthodontic check, a young woman who is very, very close to having her teeth finished. She came in with a cuspid completely blocked out of the smile, an upper cuspid, and we have that in line, and we're almost done with her. And then, this guy's interesting. Okay, got to get him in today. So he came in, he wanted his upper left cuspid extracted because it was in crooked, really crooked, and it was pushing up against his lateral incisor. I really didn't want to extract it. I would have preferred that he did braces, but apparently everybody else was telling him to get braces, and he didn't want that. And so he came to me, and at some point you just have to know, if you say no, they're just going to go down the street, right? Find somebody that'll do it. So we talked to him about a bridge, taking that tooth out because it was so crooked, and putting a bridge in its place. I also talked to him about implants, dental implants, but he chose a bridge, and he decided that he wanted us to do it right then. And we have that machine that makes crowns in the same day, you know? Well, it'll also make a bridge. Now, a bridge takes longer. It takes about 35 minutes just to mill the bridge, and another 30 minutes to bake it and get it all ready to go. But this was a cool story because remember I said we had some interesting, some people that were, very happy. Apparently he went out into the car after he was done, and when he took a look in the rearview mirror, he said, "You guys, you almost saw me cry." He goes, because he was in his car and he had tears of joy from his smile, from his new bridge. And you know what? It wasn't even a bridge that I thought was my best work, but he loved it. So, hey, when the patient's happy, we're done, right? And if I want to make my producer happy, I'm going to have to knock off right now. I think I'm out of time. I'm so sorry. Okay, so that's all the time we have today. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. It's Dr. Kvitko. And please go to my office Facebook page and like us. It's Dr. Kvitko and Associates. Be sure to tune in next week and every week right here on your favorite station. Goodbye.
This This is Carly Red from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the hit show on VH1, urging you to tune in next week with my dentist, Dr. Kvitko.
If you're interested in learning more about this and other dental health topics, go to thereasonswesmile.com to access full episodes of Dr. Kvitko's show.
If you'd like Dr. Kvitko, the world's most interesting dentist, to speak at your next event, please call 614-262-9588. That's 614-262-9588.